It's all good.
What's going on, everyone, and welcome to the TXR Podcast. This is episode number 139. I'm your host, Invader, and of course, it's certainly both a pleasure and a privilege having you all here with us this evening. We've got a lot of stuff to cover tonight with all kinds of newsworthy items making the rounds over the past week. But of course, before we get into all that, let me introduce everybody on the panel tonight. Megatron, bud. Hey, how you been the past week?
Been good, man. Been good. Ready to talk some games. A lot of news over the past week. So let's go.
All right. Of course. Tim, hey, always great to see you, man. How's things?
Good. Happy to be here. Another week. We got a lot to talk about. Fable, Perfect Dark, the new game by Compulsion, about 7 other games, about 15 studios they're going to sign. Can't wait till July for the show.
Hell yeah, definitely. Yeah, lots of stuff popping up over the past week. It's hard to keep up with it, to be honest.
Lots of emails.
No doubt. All right. Jeremy, hey, how have you been the past week, bud?
What's up, Mr. Canadian? How you doing?
Well, I'm doing well, just hanging out, being a super cool Canadian, as you know.
Sweet. Yeah, it's been insane here. We have probably everybody from every other state coming in fishing.
Oh, yeah.
On the river. So it's crazy right now over here.
Like the Ozarks?
Yep. They're not, I mean, yeah, they could travel over here, but I mean, it's crazy. People are just coming from all over fishing, and it's
just thinking about that show where they have like everybody come out from all over the country.
On top of that, I mean, people are moving in here left and right, and especially probably about 50 miles away in Bozeman. I mean, there's the real estate here is through the roof, and people are just coming through. A lot of people moving in over here, tons. And I was talking to the post office lady, and she was saying that during the last 2 weeks, probably about 30 P.O. boxes have opened up, which is a lot for over here. So people are coming. Nothing we could do.
Yes, definitely. All right, Shock. Hey, I hope you've been doing well this past week. Have you been able to play more of The Last of Us 2?
Yeah, been playing a lot of The Last of Us. I'm pretty good, though. Man, that game is brutal. If you like man's best friend, you can't play that game. Like, if you're really skittish about dogs, like in movies or games like dying, like you can't play that game. You can't get through it. You can't sneak around it. Like, I Molotov won.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of felt bad about it, but then his owner with a leash, because they got leashes, he kind of got his arm caught on fire, and then I just ran over and stuck a ship in his neck, and it's just the brutality, and just you could see their faces and the pain. They actually like animated it's unreal. But I saw this one where this guy just puts a hatchet through the dog's head, and I was just like, God.
Ooh.
Wow. I'm surprised PETA hasn't said a word. Like some of those videos are all over Twitter. And I'm like, Jesus.
Well,
it's a fantastic game.
If they make statements about Animal Crossing, they're going to come for The Last of Us eventually.
Yeah. But yeah, I think Rand put it pretty good. It's like the Splinter Cell we never got. Like, this gen, like it feels like a lot because there's a lot of stealth that you have to really incorporate, especially if you play on like a harder difficulty.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, especially after running through the first Splinter Cell a couple weeks ago, it feels like I'm playing it again. Especially with the listen mode, kind of feels like you're using like a night vision or like thermal or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know what you're speaking about because I've watched all kinds of videos and commentary on it, and I do like the attention to detail in that game. It has some really nice scenery to say the least, some nice play spaces. So, and then I know what you're talking about the dogs too, and definitely lots of visceral combat going on.
So, Shock, I haven't played it yet. Would you say it's more of a stealth game or it's more of an action game?
I mean, you can pretty much make it whatever whatever you want it to be. I think early on, just because I was conserving ammo, but I've been running through it on normal just so I could beat it and not get spoiled. Like,
what game are you guys talking about? I'm sorry.
The Last of Us.
Wow. Okay, hey, it's kid control. I'm sorry. I got I'm like an octopus back here behind the scenes.
I think I'm gonna start using, since I'm just burning through it on normal as quick as I can. They give you way too much ammo, so I'm like, geez, I can't even pick up half the ammo because you can only take or hold so much. So I mean, I've been doing it stealth, but I mean, it sometimes make it harder if you don't stealth it, but there's also, I've seen some crazy videos where guys have put together montages where it's like a whole, looks like a whole John Wick scene. I forget the guy's Twitter account people have been sharing, but you can do some crazy stuff with that if you really know what you're doing and can get the, controls down where you can switch weapons real quick. But there's just so much, just so many weapons, you could make it just full on blast action. I think I posted a video, or no, shoot, I didn't. Where like you can take on like 5 or 6 people and just be in a shootout if you want. So it's all up to you. Just, you can be creative however you ever want to tackle it. It kind of gives you a lot of options, kind of like Hitman would, maybe not to that degree, but it's a pretty big small hub world. So you kind of have, your options available.
All right. Definitely interesting. And Centurion buddy, hey, what's new and exciting at your end?
Oh, gotta get off mute there. Oh, not much. Just been working a whole lot. Playing a little bit of ESO here and there. Also playing a little bit of Disintegration. But looking forward to tonight's show. It's Sunday night and ready to talk games with my fellow green-blooded brethren.
Hell yeah. All right. Good stuff, Centurion. Now, just before we get into the topics, a reminder that we've got a giveaway going on for a limited edition Cyberpunk 2077 wireless controller. And head over to our Twitter account and look at the pinned tweet on ways on how to enter. The giveaway ends tomorrow evening, June 29th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So definitely get cracking on that if you haven't already. And on top of that, tonight we will also be dropping a game code in the chat at some point, so keep an eye on that. It was generously donated by Megatron, so of course, guys, just keep your eyes peeled for that.
It's not the Division 2, right?
Again. No, it's not the Division 2.
If it's the DLC, would you punish us?
I'm never gonna let that up, Megatron. You know that.
Oh my gosh, it's a good game, man. It's a AAA game.
Yeah, I give the guys in the chat permission to go after Jeremy for that. So
we did a special promo with Microsoft, and we're allowing, if you're a subscriber, you can download Saints Row 2 on Xbox Live this next month.
Oh yes.
Oh really? Nice.
No, that was a joke. We don't have any promo with our. Okay, never mind. No one called.
Well,
I heard it, but I'm like, okay, I'll just go with it.
Well, no, because
I was talking about.
I was talking about the next free games with gold, like next month. I
Yes,
thought for sure they would have already offered that game ages ago, but I guess I haven't.
It was a great try, Shock.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem. Like, their games with gold, like, that is a valid criticism. They've kind of let that go to the wayside with Game Pass getting like all the good stuff, but
no, definitely
it came and went, and like no one caught it. They were like, "Oh, that was it," and then everybody forgot there was even games with gold anymore.
Games with gold, RIP.
I do.
Eventually.
You know what? With Game Pass, I do forget that. You're right, though. I haven't really been paying attention as I normally would, though. Because normally I already have the games anyway.
Now, just to kind of hype games for gold.
I like it because I get to keep those forever.
I hear you. Yeah, it's great. What were you saying, Centurion?
I was just going to say to hype games for gold, at least Saints Row, the second one, is an Xbox 360 game. And all the basically Xbox 360 and original games that they give you through backwards compatibility, you're actually physically, you own the game. Unlike with Xbox One games, if you get rid of your gold account, your Xbox One games you got through Games with Gold will stop working, but all the Xbox 360 and original Xbox games will still work because they actually pretty much give you the license.
I'm still kicking
that's
myself. I didn't download the Dead Space trilogy. They gave away those for free too.
Yeah, no, that's actually how I ended up with it.
Excellent games. You always got to take a peek with games at Gold. Sometimes they offer crap. Other times they give you some gems. So always got to keep an eye on that. But okay, guys, we are going to move on to our first topic tonight. And Microsoft announced early last week that it is shutting down its streaming platform, Mixer. Now, instead, they have formed a partnership with Facebook Gaming, and they will be transitioning partnered streamers over if they choose to do so. On July 22nd, Mixer sites and apps, they will be redirected to Facebook Gaming. So, guys, this is pretty big news coming out of Microsoft and Xbox. Tim, I'll hit you up first on this topic because why did Mixer fail? Because a few months back, Microsoft was courting the biggest streamers from Twitch onto the platform. So this is a pretty big pivot back, in my opinion.
Well, I think at that point when they had signed Shroud and they Shroud Ninja, that was the last attempt. That was a last ditch attempt to kind of reinvigorate the platform to get views. The problem from day one with Mixer or Beam at the time was it was dead last on the social, watching video games. There was no views, and it never really gained any traction. If you look at the top streamers on Mixer and you compare that to the top streamers on Twitch, you compare their numbers, it's a joke. So basically, they knew they had a problem, and they knew that they needed something that was going to be, something that could work with xCloud to, prop that up. And they realized after they got Ninja and Shroud that the platform just wasn't producing. So for a while, this has been known that Mixer was going to basically go down, and they had been in talks with Facebook, I believe, since the start of March. So they basically tried it. They put a ton of money behind it. People don't know that Satya was a big backer of it. He pushed it. He thought that was going to be a way that Microsoft could have their own platform, but they lost a ton of money on it, and they tried everything, and in the end, they could not get the views. They could not get the creators to gain traction, and they looked at it and they said, we have xCloud. We're gonna have to put it on something where we can push it or elevate it, and Mixer wasn't the thing that was going to do that. So that's why they got involved with Facebook. Basically, they want to do the stuff that Stadia is doing with the double click. You basically go to Instagram and you see a game and you basically click on that link and you're connected to xCloud and you can actually play that game, buy that game immediately. So that's part of the bigger plan. It was a very rough day for Microsoft, a very rough day for Phil Spencer when it happened. A lot of people were upset that he didn't tell people beforehand, but the problem is that when you're in a multi-million-dollar, deal with Facebook and they want things quiet, you cannot give people notice, because
didn't they give them a 30-day notice? It's shutting down in 30 days. That's the 30-day notice.
Yeah, you couldn't do that because people would talk and people would know. Yeah. So people didn't learn about it until the day of via tweets. And it was a rough day for Microsoft. It's another one of their products that they are putting the kabuts on. A lot of people will say, well, the Xbox is next. But the fact is that Xbox is making a lot of money for Microsoft, so that's not going to be a problem. It was more of a platform thing. It was more of a creator thing. Even Ninja, you look at his numbers. When he was on Twitch, his numbers were about 4 times more than it was on Mixer. He just didn't have for whatever reason, people just didn't like Mixer, and they didn't go to it, and
Well, Sony
Oh,
doesn't allow Mixer.
yeah, it's not that they didn't like it. It's just I'll explain a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, wasn't the Mixer not
I don't
still
know.
on PlayStation?
I think if you have Creator, yeah, well, they even tried that. They showed playing PlayStation games, and
Well, I
they
mean, I
even
don't even
had,
think it
like-
was on PlayStation. A lot of times people use
No,
their console
no,
to
it
watch
wasn't.
Twitch.
Right. It wasn't on PlayStation, but they tried everything. They they even had Xbox people like Stein play PlayStation games like God of War
And stuff like that, but you can't do that on a PlayStation.
Right, you couldn't do it on.
Well, more
the
so that
console.
the platform, like you can't use the There's no Mixer app to download on the
Right.
on the PlayStation Store.
Correct.
So if I want to watch Ninja,
Right.
then it's like, oh well, then all those PlayStation 100 million people that might only have a PlayStation, well, they're not going to watch Ninja because there's no Mixer app.
For whatever reason, Rhyme or whatever, they couldn't get numbers. They couldn't get traction. And I mean, when we're talking about low numbers, you're talking about dreadfully low numbers, and they weren't even close. If you look at the Facebook gaming that came out 2 years ago, and I think Mixer was 3 years old, it surpassed Mixer within a year, and now it was triple what it was. I mean, I don't know exactly, don't quote me, but there is you look at, if you find that data, you'll see Mixers at the bottom of the bottom. So that's my take. It was a tough time for Xbox, though.
Did they always have numbers available for Mixer to see, like, which platform was leading when it came to content creation?
Yeah,
Because I've never paid attention. I've never paid attention, to any of this. I'm just curious, but it's sad. It was a sad day for a lot of people that I know on Xbox that we know personally. Me, you, Tim, down there that stream on Mixer, and they put a lot of work into it. And it caught me by surprise. I would have never guessed they would have gave up, especially with them investing in Ninja and the other person you mentioned to stream. And I don't know. I was sad. I was saddened by it because I do my little Mixer stream when I have the chance to game, and I guess tough to get in between doing business and creating content and being a streamer. It's just kind of that part you kind of lose. But I'm curious.
Yeah,
to
it was
see what they're
definitely a
gonna do
good
with Facebook.
platform, good quality, but just it's hard to break into, like I think Downers alluded to before. You have those juggernauts that are Twitch and YouTube. It's going to be even hard for like Facebook gaming to even come close to those like total numbers.
One of my favorite features was when you were able to take control. If someone was watching your show through Mixer, you were able to take control of your game while you were streaming it. To me, that was like awesome. I don't see anybody doing that.
But it wasn't. At the end of the day, it wasn't enough. Social networking, broadcast media, social media. People are never going to leave their current platforms. I don't care what you do. The sense of status, and I spoke about this before 3 months ago. Again, the sense of status, the popularity, the self-esteem it brings, the quest for likes, follows, subscriptions, all those things, views, heavily influences these people. Mixer was doomed from the start because there was no clear distinction between Mixer and Twitch or YouTube. No real reason to switch. If I could compare it with something, imagine building like this big old empire, right? Then starting from scratch all over again. And people don't want to do that. They don't want to put the work in again for what they've built. So in many ways, it turned into like almost like, well, I would call it an addiction in some respects. Whether you're
real quick, just to jump in, you could, I mean, then to entice people who hasn't started, if you haven't started doing this, but always wanted to, then why not start on a new platform? Maybe that's who they were trying to aim for. Like I said, and it was easy for Xbox fans. I guess it was all connected.
I went on Mixer today to just look. I think it's funny they partnered with Facebook. Everybody's going to Twitch.
Yeah,
but at the same time, like I said, what you said, I think there was no clear difference between the two, and I think that's why people didn't switch. If you look at Facebook, that does something different as opposed to Snapchat. and Snapchat does something different as opposed to Twitter. You know, so those platforms are successful because it does something completely different. You know, and at the same time, when you look at Mixer, it didn't really do anything different than that you couldn't do on Twitch or YouTube. So at that time, it wasn't enticing enough for people to switch over. You know, again, because when you throw in the social networking element, the sense of status, all that stuff, something that you work hard for, you know, it takes a lot of work to get back. And I think that's the problem with people. But, you know, again, I think the Facebook partnership is an interesting one. If they're using it, you know, Facebook, I think, has active users. I think it's like 2.6 billion active users per month. And it's the single largest active social media platform on the face of the earth. I think if people can, if Xbox can tap into that with this partnership, I think it's to their benefit. But you know, as far as Mixer goes, they were bleeding money all over it. It was just better to close it down immediately, cut their losses. You know, all that good stuff. So I think, you know, if you have YouTube, which has its own set base already, you have Facebook, which has, you know, like I said, 2.6 billion people using their platform monthly. And you have Twitch, which a ton of people, Amazon. I mean, these
and
are.
You also have Instagram. So
yeah, and these are massive companies that can throw a lot of money at the gaming industry, at the gaming platforms. And I think Mixer just got caught up in it. I don't think they had the foresight in terms of exactly what they were going against, because when you think about it, you're talking about you know, a baby company with like Mixer, and then starting up from the ground up, essentially going up against some big names with YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. And I think it was just dead on arrival. Yeah, they tried, but you know, like everything with Microsoft, they slow play everything. And I think by that point, it was too little, too late.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. It's yeah, I guess Microsoft expected way too much of the Mixer platform. Like they didn't, in my opinion, like a lot of people here have alluded to on the panel, they didn't really distinguish themselves a lot from Twitch. People are just like, well, I'll just stick with Twitch because Mixer seems to be doing the same thing. So I'll just stick on the platform that I'm already established on, right?
Yeah, and Facebook was their only option. Google's not doing a partnership with them when they're trying to compete, because they know the reason why they would be partnering with them would be the whole cloud technology.
I think this move with Facebook is a good move, and I think you can reach more people through the Facebook platform. They could do different things with marketing. I think it's just a better move overall. You're going to have more people.
There's still a ton of gamers and retro game groups that are on there that post stuff all the time. There's a ton of people that haven't moved over to Twitch, or not Twitch, but Twitter. There's so many people that most of my friends don't have a Twitter account, and they're like my age, like 20s, 30s. They don't have Twitter, and there's just a lot of Twitter doesn't. You can try to filter like graphic stuff, but I could be in work in the office and be just scrolling through Twitter. I'm like, oh, somebody posted some porn.
First thing I heard,
I'm like, oh crap.
The first thing I heard about Facebook, though, and that whole union, people were like, you know, nervous, man. They were, you know, like they were worried about, you know, security breaches and stuff. And
that's every company deals with.
Yeah, I know, but that was the first thing that I've seen people like the outcry, and then, you know, people attaching their.
If they have a cell phone, then they have nothing to fear, because like their information's gone. Google, if you use your Google Chrome, Google's putting that information when you go on Facebook. Then Facebook says, "Hey, you were looking at this item on Google."
Amazing? Yep.
Yeah. So Google owns you? Like, They're all doing that. Amazon has terrible
company-
practices, and they own Twitch, so no one's holier than thou over here.
Each company,
one's safe.
basically, each company sells your information. I mean, that's what it boils down to. They make money off. Well, they bank on making money off. What you like, what you view, what content you because if they could tap into that, then they know what you like and what you buy. So if they know what you like and then what you buy, they can make money off you. And that's what it boils down to. I mean, it just boils down to money at the end of the day. But at the same time, it's our fault. You can't blame these companies for doing what they're doing because we're pushing that terms of the whatever it is called a contract, terms of agreement, terms of service, all that stuff. We're pushing on that stuff, and at the end of the day, it's our fault. It's not their fault.
Shout out to Fozzie because I remember now too. He just mentioned in the chat that they were pushing that low latency tech when it was Beam. And that was one of the things that got their attention the most, if I remember correctly. And
they kept. Not to interrupt, Mega, but just something to add to your point is that they kept that technology. Just so you know, they kept the low latency technology.
Nice.
That was one of the parts. But finish what you were saying.
No, that was it. And I was just remembering when they first launched with it, and before they even renamed it, they were touting about how the low latency tech was, how great it was. The low latency tech, and then obviously, which probably enabled them to be able to have a person that was viewing your content take over the game you were playing while you were streaming. But unfortunately, it just didn't work. I
think it's interesting though how Xbox and both Xbox and Microsoft, it seems like they get bad news like in waves. Like, we got the Mixer news, and then it was the Microsoft stores are closing news, and it's just one thing after it. Go ahead.
I hear you, but it didn't last long because you know what happened, and I'm going to kind of jump in the gun a little bit. They announced they started pushing the Halo Infinite campaign, and I don't see anything about it at all really on Twitter. I don't see it on my end. Now maybe Tim, somebody with a bigger platform. I don't see it anymore. So I
think they had to make these two news drops go away, and I think part of that was to drop the Halo, a little Halo teaser in there. But as for the Microsoft store closures, I mean, people are worried about it. This is not going to affect Microsoft one bit, and it really isn't a big deal from Microsoft's perspective. Other than the fact that they lost jobs over it, they lost people. Obviously, that's sad. All of Microsoft's retail stores were just too expensive to keep open. And I think these were – I mean, you guys seen these stores. You've been to these stores, guys. These stores are in high society. Rent was extremely high. Yep. Payroll was extremely high. These stores were very low profit margins. And then when COVID hit, it was like icing on the cake. It was like icing on the cake. And at that point, they knew Microsoft knew that they had to get rid of these stores because, again, Microsoft has $100-something billion in the bank cash. And at the end of the day, if they're losing money of it, they're going to cut their ties with it. Every business has their failures, but Microsoft has more successes than failures. At the end of the day, they're one of the most profitable and greatest companies in America, and they know what they're doing.
Every time I walked into a Microsoft store here in Indianapolis, there's no one ever in it, ever. And I'm surprised. I'm like, who buys all this stuff? There's no one in here. It's really nice.
Yeah.
And they actually, Lords of Gaming podcast I was listening today, they were saying they didn't lay off anybody and that they integrated anybody that was working there into other.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I saw that tweet somewhere, which was great to hear. That was great news. And I think COVID-19 definitely perpetuated the situation. I mean, it says, you know what? No one's going into the stores anyway at all. And the way they do their business, I mean, you're handling the product. You can't touch the controller anymore. You can't handle the PCs. I guess people that are working there can do the demonstrations for you, but you're not still hands-on anymore like you would be normally because of this virus, unfortunately. So kind of makes sense. You know.
Yeah, and the fact that you can go into like a Best Buy, and I mean, this Best Buy, again, these places they pay a lot of money for real estate in these stores. Apple has a big Apple I'm sorry. Best Buy has a big Apple section. When you go into Best Buy, they also have a big Microsoft section. And, this is not going to hurt their sales at all. That's why I'm saying, for Microsoft, it's not going to affect Microsoft one bit.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like when Sony had their Sony style stores, like in the mid 2000s. They had it in the same like the poshest mall you can get in Indianapolis, which is in a really high end, like part of our city. And there was anybody in that store either, because if you tried to buy Sony products from there, it would be at the top MSRP. There would be no markdown or deal like you get going across the street at Best Buy. So it's like, why would I buy any of this here? It's super overpriced. Even if I'm rich, I'll just go to Best Buy or whatever and get, save some money. So.
Same. Like there was one maybe about 40 minutes from me in Toronto at the Eaton Center, and yeah, just really out of the way, and a really the rent for that mall must have been excruciating for them. Like I can just imagine what the price would have been, probably extortionate to be honest with you. But there really wasn't anything too special about these. Like I remember they'd have some like Connect demos outside the store, but otherwise, I don't know, they're trying to do the whole Apple store thing, and I don't know, to me it didn't really jive for them.
Took off.
No.
A lot like Mixer, it just was kind of like a copycat that just never gained traction. I remember even during the holidays, you could go to Apple was absolutely a madhouse. I mean, people lines just to get in, and the whole store filled. Then you walk down the mall, go down, make a right, and you see the Microsoft store, and you go in there, and there's 5 people in there, and 3 of the people are people that are working there asking you, "Can I help you?" So it was something where, again, they weren't getting the traction, and they probably looked at it. Probably COVID it definitely accelerated it, and they said, you know what, we could just have these 4 stores be, flagship stores, and we'll just sell everything else online. So in a way, it was a tough week for Microsoft, but like Jeremy said, it does seem to come in waves, and I do believe that they wanted to get out all this stuff before they start pushing
all positive.
Positive Xbox stuff. Like I said, it was a rough week on Xbox, especially Phil. A lot of people, gave him shit, and I think it's kind of unfair because. In a way, Mixer was always more pushed by Satya. It wasn't really a Phil thing. He thought it was cool. He thought, they tried everything, but Satya was the guy that really thought they had an opportunity there, and he threw a ton of money in there, and it just never happened. So, listen, Microsoft has history of closing down stuff, but they're a big business, and if things fail, they're going to let it go, and that's just the reality of any business. Or you look, Sony had their stores, they sold them off. Sony had their TV lines, they sold their manufacturing.
Listen,
if Stargate goes out any longer, AMC is going to go under. So
exactly. There's a lot of things that go on with business. I mean, this is people like to, the most people I've ever heard about Mixer was the day that it canceled. Before that, people would just didn't take Mixer seriously. It was made jokes of, and people didn't even know what it was. I mean, like Megatron said, we had friends that were doing it, and they were talented people, but for the same people would do YouTube or YouTube podcasts and stuff, and they'd get a ton of views. When they played Mixer, it's just nobody watched it. And like Shock said, it did hurt them that they probably couldn't get on PlayStation, but you got to also figure that PlayStation didn't want any part of Mixer either. They tried to push it. They tried with the Microsoft stores, but they, unfortunately, as Jeremy would say, if the businesses aren't going to do what they're supposed to do, they're going to go under.
Yeah, our friends over at GRG and OK Mega and them in 108 and 100, they took their whole stream from YouTube and just went all Mixer. They jumped all in, and I know they were 100% believing in it. And then unfortunately, like I said, the people that we knew, they just decided no longer. I guess they're eventually going to just go back to either Twitch or YouTube, but just, hey, what stores are left for Microsoft? We got the New York store that's staying open, London, and then I guess
London, Sydney, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're
a lot of great times in the New York store. I'll just leave it at that. A lot of great experiences at that store.
Didn't that one get trashed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably we might as well shut this down.
I'm pretty sure it's all fixed up now, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or remodeling for their Microsoft Experience stores.
Yes, definitely. It should be interesting to see how those kind of turn out. But just to touch on one thing before we head to the next topic, guys, Facebook's gaming division it was on a bit of a roll last week, obviously, but they also acquired the Order 1886 developer Ready at Dawn. Is that a good pickup for them?
Yeah, that's a good pickup for sure. I enjoyed the Order. I mean, I thought it was a good game, a good story, good characters, but Ready at Dawn,
I heard good things about their VR. They've been that's what they've been doing since.
So that's going to be incorporated with the Oculus Quest, and they're gonna roll heavy with that. But at the same time, they're not really a well-known developer. I would say they make they made some nice titles, obviously, but it's still a good pickup for Facebook.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. I'm kind of wondering out of this partnership if it's just going to be, with streaming. I wonder if there's going to be other things coming out of this. Maybe who knows? Maybe a Facebook Oculus games exclusive, possibly console exclusive on Xbox. You never know. That'd be interesting.
Would be.
But it's a shame what happened to Mixer, guys. I wanted to like it, but it never caught on the way that a lot of people were hoping. So we'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks, and we'll see how Facebook gaming turns out for them. But we will move along here, and we'll get onto our next topic. And we just had a look at Cyberpunk 2077, another one. There was a lengthy stream featuring some gameplay and some new mechanics. We got to look at some new areas, such as the Badlands, and a really cool feature called Brain Dance, just to name a few. Now, Jeremy, I know you're really excited for this game, along with Megatron. But, Jeremy, what stood out to you amongst the new gameplay and features?
There was nothing I didn't know already. Cyberpunk's going to be the biggest game, one of the biggest games ever made. As far as the features like Brain Dance and I forgot what it was called. I think it was Blending Cultures. Yeah, Blending Cultures.
Yeah.
It's a cool idea, but at the end of the day, what's going to drive this game is it's massive, and we're talking massive open world. I think there's 7 districts, and the game's going to be huge, something that we've never experienced before in terms of scale. That's how big the game's going to be. When you combined all the things that you can do and see, CD Projekt Red's signature story, its characters, they're going all out for this game. You see it in the marketing and just everything that's going on. At the same time, there's just very few details about the game that's come out. It's still in really tight wraps, like all CD Projekt Red's games. But I think the underlining to this, and this kind of just went over people's heads, and people didn't really know about this, but I promise you, when CD Projekt Red delayed Cyberpunk, Xbox and 343 was saying, holy fuck, we got Cyberpunk lined up with Halo now, allegedly. If Halo releases when it should release, I can't see it any other way. But Cyberpunk's going against Halo, and that's going to be an interesting battle to keep your eye on. I think it could take some of Halo's thunder away, depending on.
Or it could go the other way around.
I don't know.
Halo is super popular, man.
Dude, let me tell you. All right, because I know we're running back to back with this. I know we're with the topics, but let me tell you, we should go right now. Halo versus Cyberpunk, and when they drop when they drop that little clip of whenever they drop, bro, I you know what? It took my hype away from Cyberpunk, and I have Cyberpunk everything. Trust me. I'm trying to get Cyberpunk, but it really kind of just said Cyberpunk who? They're talking about the Banished coming back. Dude,
no one cares about the Banished.
Who doesn't care?
People. Come on, like a handful of people.
I got excited.
People played Halo Wars 2. A handful. Nobody knows who Atrioc is besides the handful.
I mean, I think they're gonna let you know.
I think Jeremy will be eating those words.
I stand by Cyberpunk is basically, I hate to say it, Microsoft's plan B if Halo Infinite is delayed.
Yeah.
Well,
it's true. There's some truth to that.
Or they launch in October.
I look at it through the idea of you're going to have Halo Infinite. No offense. It's going to be an awesome campaign, awesome game. But we all know campaigns on Halo games are not exactly 40, 60, 80-hour campaigns. They're probably going to release it, at least with all intent, the week before Cyberpunk, because I believe Cyberpunk is coming out the second week of November, and the Xbox One X was released during the first week of November. All I'm saying is that will give you 1 week to actually play Halo Infinite, and we know all the diehards are going to burn through that game within the first night.
Yep.
And that means the following week, Cyberpunk will come out, and they don't got to worry about too much competition. But if Halo Infinite is delayed, Cyberpunk 2077 is going to be the graphical showcase to help launch a system.
Well, I'll put this out there
because it's a multiplayer. Yes, I agree.
100%. Since you're
because it's a multiplayer, and it's going to give you basically show you the differences between the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. Most definitely, I agree with you on that.
I'll put this out there, fellas, because this has been the third time I believe that Cyberpunk has been delayed, and from what we've seen from the gameplay, they've shown some in progress cinematics and some gameplay too, obviously, but I just felt it was very contained personally, and I'll go on record here. I honestly think it'll get delayed again. I could see them pushing it back a bit because
the game's they went out and said the game's finished, so all they're doing is just polishing it up. That's all they're doing.
What are we talking about? The Cyberpunk?
Yeah. I'm more worried about Halo. And I could see it. I'm going to go on record right now and saying Halo's not coming out until Q1 of 2021.
Weren't you following that, Tim? How many Halo likes? Did they get a lot of views?
It got more likes than Spider-Man. You go on, Centauri. We'll let you take it.
I was going to say, at least what Phil Spencer described in that Games Lab interview is they have a really good system for game developers to use by using the xCloud and Microsoft Teams and other systems that they have in Microsoft to basically making the game from home remotely very accessible. But Phil Spencer said games that involve like motion capture animation and all the stuff, basically people needing to be a number of people in a small room. He said, yes, there's going to be delays there. So I don't know where Halo Infinite is in their development, but if there's any motion cap that still needed to be made or anything of those natures, that right there would be kind of like we'll just say it'd kind of slow it down for sure.
Right. So I'm gonna
go ahead.
Go on, Chairman. Well, I'm going to just say that I have some information that I've heard, and what I've heard is that they are still on target. It is going to be very close. They have over 1,200, including contractors and freelance developers, working on it as we speak. You're talking about 1,200 developers. They are trying like hell. And Right now, they are on target. But if we have, obviously some things might play, but right now, I'd say barring another COVID shutdown, I like the Xbox chances to launch it because they know that they need it. Because if they don't have it, Sony takes the cake for the start of the gen. And if they do have it, I'm sorry, Spider-Man DLC. You can say what you want. That's not next generation Spider-Man. It's basically cool, but they got nothing that compares to this. And this is going to be a double 2-tier AAA multiplayer and single player. So I'm on record saying they're going to hit it, barring another COVID shutdown.
Tim, let me ask you this question real quick. Are you worried about Halo going against Cyberpunk?
No, because I'll tell you right now, the reason why, first of all, the heat is on for Halo. 100K likes for just that Banished voice clip. See what you got here going is that you're gonna get the game on PC. PC guys, you look at Halo MCC is the highest selling game that came from Xbox to PC. Behind it is Sea of Thieves, but Halo MCC is, and it's by a large margin. People on PC have been waiting for this. It's going to be a launch game. It's not going to be like Gears. The PC community is going to go crazy. So you got that faction, and then you're going to have obviously Xbox, but you're also going to be having the whole generation of this generation Xbox. So it's going to be playable on Xbox One. I'm thinking that Halo is going to be. It's not going to outsell Cyberpunk, but I think, and also in this case, we would say that it would kill sales. You got Game Pass too.
Yeah, it doesn't need. I mean, it doesn't need to. It doesn't really hurt it. It's not like Sunset Overdrive. The worst case scenario, you don't buy Xbox. Probably a lot of people will probably use it on Game Pass or subscribe to Game Pass. But yeah, Halo's going to be freaking huge.
It's going to be huge.
The big thing is they got to get it out on launch. If they do not get it out on launch, that is going to be the biggest single hit to this Xbox.
I think Halo's going to be like Zelda in the sense that when everybody bought a Switch, they bought Zelda. I don't think there's anybody that's buying an Xbox Series X that's not walking out the store with Halo Infinite. Because the Cyberpunk is not giving you a next-gen version day one. They'll have an update for it, but the next-gen version is coming in 2021. So if you want to see something probably taking as full advantage and has all the texture packs there, Halo Infinite is going to be your showpiece to bring home and see what it can do.
Unless that's why they delayed Cyberpunk, because they're, this is more of a reason.
Well, no, they said that's still not coming until 2021.
Oh, that's a great point. That's an excellent
They said
point.
about smart delivery, like the whole thing, it going to PS or getting a PS5 copy with the upgrade. They still said that's coming 2021.
Shout out to Silent Bob X. He said Atriox is Halo's Thanos.
Yeah, sorry, buddy, but half of the galaxy doesn't know who Atriox is.
Actually,
they know who Thanos is.
They know who Atriox is because
people didn't know Thanos until Infinity War came out.
Because Halo 5 kind of bombed story-wise.
Yeah, killing them.
So I'm going to say Halo Wars 2 was the story that people were actually craving when it came to the Halo universe, and they found out the Flood was back, and then they saw all these trailers with Atriox. And you talk to a number of people, they'll all say the story of Halo Wars 2 was actually better than the one you got in Halo 5. So they were obviously listening to that. They saw the interest people had in Atriox and the Banished because of just all the stories that were going around. Hey, if you haven't played this game, at least watch some stuff on YouTube about it because this dude Atriox is pretty cool. Dude, they've got a statue of Atriox and Microsoft I saw on Twitter today. I mean, I'm excited. I was excited. I don't know if it's truly Atriox, but I got excited.
I've seen that statue in person. It's awesome. It's definitely something to behold with the eyes. It's awesome.
Dude, if they ever sell that thing, can they just shoot me a price? Just shoot me a price. I'll take out a loan.
Yeah, let's really dive into this, guys, because obviously we're just talking about Halo, and that teaser. There was a teaser that featured warnings from a member of the Banished. We still don't know who it is, but they're issuing threats to humanity, and this was basically it's a signal of major involvement of the Banished in Halo Infinite. Heck, their symbol even showed up. It's the Banished. This little teaser on Twitter got, last time I checked, it was like 3 million views. It's like, out of all the games that Sony announced over the past, like, last week, this has garnered so many views. It has really, like, taken Twitter by storm. Now, Megatron, I'm going to go to you on this one. Now, judging from this tease, like, do you believe that this is the Banished, that they will be the main antagonists in Halo Infinite?
Probably. Like when Halo Wars 2 came out and people got wind of the Atriox and the Banished then. Like, I had no idea. Like, Jeremy would say, I had no idea. I played Halo Wars 2, saw some of the marketing that pulled me in, and I was instantly hooked on this guy. And he's just a beast. And I think that
Literally,
people, this is what people wanted. And and I think Microsoft saw that. They saw what people were saying on Twitter, and most definitely, I think this is going to be a hell of a game, hell of a story, and it's going to be great, man. And it was like when they announced it, when they announced it, I'm like Mixer what? Microsoft closing stores what? I mean, it took all, like I said earlier. I love Cyberpunk. I'm all in it. I'm all in it. But when I heard that voice and you see anything Halo from me, like it just takes me. It takes it to another level. And this is Microsoft's game. This is the Slipstream engine.
There's nothing that's gonna set this gaming industry on fire like Halo. I mean, if Halo's good, if it's good and it's memorable and the multiplayer brings back memories of the old, we're talking about pop culture status, Halo fever all over again. People running out to buy Xboxes. It's gonna be that kind of Lockhart.
First time I ever stood in line for a video game was because of Halo. Was for a video game, not a console, but a game itself. Was because of that Halo world, that those ohms, that music you hear as soon as you fire up that console, man. It's just, I'm ready, man. Like
I'm super excited.
Yeah, you need a good villain, whereas like the created just weren't that.
Yeah, if Halo's really good, like I hope it is, man. I hope it is, but. I'm talking about Microsoft merchandise with Master Chief, some Legos, everything you think of. They need to merchandise the shit out of this Halo.
Are we going to see? Are we going to
pop it up?
What?
I could have sworn we've seen like teases of merchandise popping up on Twitter.
There's been like Mega Block teases even that people have caught with Banished color schemes even before this came out, and it was like, oh, the Banished are appearing in this game. Like we weren't really too sure, and now it's confirmed.
I'll tell you what I want to see. I want to see that Halo Infinite console. I want to see the Elite Controller. Give me Elite Controller or console collector's edition. I'm all in on that. That's it. You know how I do it.
Yeah, they'd be smart to do it.
What if it was a digital one?
What do you mean it
was a Xbox One digital?
What about
I just don't know if they're going to be able to make a custom console other than the digital because they're just making the console itself. But it would be really freaking cool if they had a custom console at launch or even an announcement that you can buy it down the line. But because they usually do for their flagship titles, they usually do have it. Well, what I really want from Halo, or what I would love, is that if they have the Flood and they have everything comes together. I hope that Locke makes. I want to play as Master Chief the whole time, but I hope Locke is somewhere involved or somewhere where you might have a mission where Locke's involved. Because I liked Locke. I just think that it was kind of hard for him or his character being thrusted into the Halo world the way he was.
I think it'd be a good compliment to Master Chief. Maybe in some of the, I don't know. You need to have Master Chief in there the whole time. You have to have him.
Can I
go ahead?
So you say barely anybody knows who Atriox is, right? Well, last night on the Shop Podcast, I'll say it right here too. I did name Locke, but I'm going to stick with to basically express how serious Atriox is, to basically get that over, probably in the first couple minutes of the game, Atriox is probably going to clip a main character. I mean, like, how much more serious can you do that? Like, who the hell is this guy? And then you see him kill somebody that you've seen in other games. You're like, this is Atriox.
Let him kill Locke.
I'm just saying, like, I'm just saying, this dude's gonna probably go Negan on somebody. He's
Team
gonna
Chief.
go around with that bat.
He might kill Buck. Buck might get his head ripped off.
I'm just saying, like, how else do you express who this
Yeah,
guy is?
you're right.
Doing that real
Show
quick.
that off in July, him killing Locke in the gameplay reveal.
No, that was
No, I'm just saying people would probably like start. Well,
man, that would be awesome.
Start clapping like, oh shit.
I actually liked Locke. Like I said, I think he was a cool character. Loved the design. It was just tough to put him in that. It was tough to put a character in that position when people want to play as Master Chief. I mean, a lot of people had a problem playing as what was the Covenant.
Yeah.
You know, I
The
particularly
arbiter.
The Arbiter.
But he had a good
people had
story,
problem.
so then people were like, okay, this is cool.
Mhm.
Well, what screwed
And he was a
Halo
different
4
character.
up?
He wasn't another like Spartan, like Master
Right.
Chief Light. He gave you different abilities.
Yeah, it was interesting the way they did it. But what screwed Halo 5 up, and I think we all can agree, was they had the best marketing ever for a video game.
If the game that turned out like the marketing,
Right, but the marketing had zero to do with the game. So we all thought it was going to be a tie-in, and this is building up, and then it was just like nothing connected, and that was a big problem. You know, looking back, I think Halo 5. They better get this right, because Halo 5 was a disappointment looking back. It was okay. It was a decent game. I would give it an 8. You know, probably at the time I was a little more lenient, but looking back, I played the game over twice. It was a good game, but there's nothing like it. But they got to hit this. They got to get the story right. I believe the guy that wrote Batman Arkham is the writer for this. He's been with them for 3 years. You know, I think that if they get this and they nail it, and I don't think it's going to be a 96. It's not going to be on Last of Us level as far as Metacritic. But, you know, if they can get like in the area of a 90 or an 88, like that critical acclaim.
could be Last of Us. Last of Us 94 now.
Yeah, so I mean that'd be huge.
No, they got a different
91.
points. They got a different point scale at Metacritic. That means
Yeah.
for every negative point, that means they got to shave off like 5 to 10 points off the Metacritic score.
Jesus.
Well, it doesn't help that it has multiplayer and all of Xbox games do, and then that's judged harshly, you know, as well. It's you know the other guys, Sony, don't even attempt it, and it helps them. You
Yeah,
know?
they took it out. They're selling it to you
Yeah.
later. Whereas Microsoft, they have to hit on 343 has to hit on both for it to hit 90. They have to both modes have to be stellar.
Correct.
So I got to know, which character did Phil Spencer like CG himself into in Halo Infinite?
Wouldn't that be something? He takes the
Yeah.
helmet. He takes the helmet off. What if he is Chief? He just put
Dude,
him in
you
as-
know how many people would lose their shit if the Master Chief took his helmet off and it was Phil Spencer?
We've already seen his face. He was.
I'm
in
looking
Halo
at this. I'm
4.
looking at
Technically,
this article from Game Rant, and they're rumors of saying that the campaign is going to be 20 hours long.
Wow.
What do you guys think? You think that's good enough, or
Sounds like something
It
different.
just needs to be good. It just needs to be
yeah.
good.
Just
That's
make
it.
a compelling campaign, you know, that gives, you know, that basically it fixes what happened in Halo 5, and just make it compelling, make it fun, make it, you know, again, revolve around Chief and his journey with, you know, Cortana. Like, again, there's a lot of aspects here we don't know. And it is interesting that the Banished are being put into this in some way. I'll be curious to see if the Floods show up at some point. There's a lot of different.
They showed up in Halo Wars too.
That is true. Yes.
I see this getting like really epic. Like, to describe it, at least in my head, would be at the end of Mass Effect 3, when you've gone through all 3 games, and at the end of the game, you have united all the different races of the galaxy to basically kind of go against this one cause, you would say. So it's going to be really interesting if by some chance at the end of the game you see literally a lot of different factions you've seen throughout the games kind of coming together in a really large war or something.
Against who though? Against Atriox, you think? I mean, the Banished.
See, that's why not against each other, man. Like,
it's hard to tell.
Straight up Game of Thrones all the way. Like everybody just wants control, and you just really don't know who's going to do what to get ahead of the other guy.
Because it's hard to say.
In that clip, you hear someone from the Banished, saying that they're going to take the ring. They're looking at this broken ring, and they're going to stand together. And I guess they're kind of going to take it back.
Yeah,
but from who?
It really does sound like everybody's kind of fighting over this one ring.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we don't know what's on that ring per se. I mean, I could go into story details like a canon, and there could be precursors on there for all we know. It could be.
Well, we all know Lord of the Rings theory: one ring to rule them all.
There you go.
Well, there's a lot of canon stuff. With the Banished, though, what I'm excited, I don't know how many of you have played Halo Wars 2, but one of the best things about the Banished was their vehicles and their weapons and just the general look at them. They're like, if they had a couple of Banished vehicles that you could actually get into on like a first-person view and just like have Chief use them, like the blister back, that floating thing that shoots missiles out of his back, or like the Marauder tank. There's so many like cool things that they had, or just bring back the Brute Chopper. People love that thing, and it hasn't been
awesome RTS. That Halo Wars 2 was all. I never played one. I gotta admit, I have it, never played it, but Halo Wars 2 is. I want to play. I should be playing that right now.
I think this engine is gonna show off some crazy. Especially if you played. I saw a clip of Halo 3 and I just remember now where that kind of like a. What was it, Brohammer comes flying in like that giant ship, and that was on the 360, and it rendered that whole ship in like seconds, just like zooming to the ground. And that's
and Halo Wars 3 you're talking about,
Halo
right?
Wars, or
my God,
Halo 3.
Yeah, that was
I
epic.
did that then, and I'm like, they're going to be able to do some crazy things with this new engine. I'm assuming since
imagine how the Flood is going to function with all that extra power that they can put into the AI and just the different kind of movement you could have from the horde-like nature of the Flood.
Even speaking about like, you think about firefight potential as well, having
oh my gosh,
a flood fight, like a lot of people have been asking for this kind of stuff for a while.
I'm really hoping they also go destructible environment. Sorry, Megatron. I'm just hoping that we get some also destructible environments.
Yeah, that's all good. Don't say sorry to me, man. This is we're talking about Halo, man. So much, we all have our own ideas on how great this game could be, and I just hope they just nail it. What do you think, Tim? You think they're going to get that 4K 60 banner? That mark?
I think it's going to be a 4K 60 with ray tracing, possibly. And I do think that for multiplayer, you're going to get 120 frames per second.
Wow.
What I'm hearing is that the difference in these consoles, Sony and Microsoft, is that Microsoft wants their games to be super quick, super with the DLI, the dynamic latency input. They want their games to be instantaneously, and obviously the solid state drive helps that too. But I think we're gonna. When you see the show in July, you're gonna notice. You're gonna hear 120 frames per second mentioned. I would say a nice amount of times comparatively. On Sony show, they didn't even mention it once. So I do think that you're going to get more first party with 120 frames per second. You're going to get backwards compatibility games, the Xbox One games with 120 frames per second. Obviously, Xbox originals with 120 frames per second. When it's available or when it can be done, they're going to do it. They're going to enhance it. So if you have a TV that's 4K 120, you're in luck. but a lot of these things sometimes may not run at 4K 120. So if you have just a standard, even an OLED, the C8s, they don't have the 2.1s, but you could still play at like 1080p 120, which you might even see that. But yeah, the frames are going to be a real differentiator, I believe, from these two consoles. And one of the things that was mentioned this week was Jason Ronald talked about the variable clocks, and I had told you guys, and I've told Twitter, Xbox tried that, and they found that the gains were not, the performance were not what you would think, and they weren't really impressed with it. Plus, they thought that it would incur a lot more work for the developers to optimize and to deal with. So that's why they went with the set clocks, but they could have easily done what Sony did. And you'd be talking about a 14 teraflop console. I mean, but the reality is that going with the set clocks and going with what they went with is just probably the better move. They, like I said, they tried it and they weren't happy with the results. I think Sony did it more or less because if they had went with 9.2 or even 9.5 as a static clock, and people were talking about a 3 teraflop difference, it would be it's a lot harder to swallow than saying, oh, we're only 2. And even considering it's RDNA 2 teraflops, and people were saying teraflops don't matter. But the fact of the matter is the Xbox Series X, I believe, in my opinion, is going to be a lot more powerful than the PlayStation 5. I think their setup and the way they went about things was, they try to save face in a lot of areas. Even their CPU clock is going to be lower than Lockhart's, and from what I'm hearing. So I guess we'll see when the games come out, when these intensive games come out. I think Xbox is really going to shine.
And on that note, we're going to move on to another topic. But again, I am really excited for Halo Infinite, and just the thought of the Banished actually being in the game is, it gets me pretty stoked, to say the least. But yeah, moving on to something else, guys. And there was some interesting commentary from Xbox head Phil Spencer this past week. Speaking at Game Lab Live keynote, Phil suggested that Immersion will make the Xbox Series X a must-buy for gamers. Answering questions on what kinds of experiences he expected the Xbox Series X will highlight, he stated that this is always a difficult question because I know people are looking for 1, 2, or 3 tech that only show up on a certain platform or is only made possible on a certain platform. I think it's just a matter of degrees. It has been for a while. It has been for a while. He further expanded, stating, I think we're at a point now with Immersion, with the tools we have on the compute capability, that the deltas will be smaller from a visual impact, or that feature X was never possible before and it now is. And that might sound depressing to some, but what I would say is that the advantage side to some, of what I'm seeing now is really the immersive nature of the content that's getting created. Now, Centurion, I'm tossing this over to you, bud. Do you agree with Phil's statements on immersion versus graphics? Because he's focusing on stuff like load times and frame rates and so on.
I couldn't agree more, purely because I've been kind of seeing graphics kind of plateauing for a while. We know the end-all be-all for the best graphics possible are on PC, but slowly that line between console and PC is being blurred, especially with these new generation consoles and the tech they're putting inside them. And so, yeah, it's starting to get more where it's all about frame rates. It's almost like, at least the way I thought about it in my head is it's time for the rest of the industry to catch up. They have been pushing graphics for so long now. For every generational console leap, it's always been about graphics. And now, for the first time ever, they're wanting the rest of that whole process to catch up. People are wanting stable frame rates. They're wanting shorter loading times. They're wanting optimization. And then you talk about immersion, like the Medium, for example, they're actually creating a game that's only going to be able to be played on the Series X and compatible PCs, because they're creating such an immersive experience that it kind of requires the ray tracing and just other stuff that's not on other consoles. So it is going to be tiny little details like that. And, that's where people need to realize that the only way it's ever we're going to see that next great big leap, at least in graphics, is if they start raising the bar when it comes to the minimum spec on PC. Because I still agree with the developer from Guerrilla Games that was on RDX that as of next generation, PC is the lowest common denominator, purely because that on the PC side, at least the minimum spec on PC still involves a mechanical hard drive. And as of next gen, all game consoles will be pretty much using SSDs. As the years go by, it will become less and less common for mechanical hard drives to be used in consoles. So as the older generation goes away, it's basically PC is going to start holding back. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I think that's when you're going to start to see a dip in those prices too, as far as the SSD drive, because they're going to be.
Please, for the love of God, let those prices go down.
Yeah, they're going to go down. They're going to go down for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I've seen the price of SSD, actually, the price of hard drives in general go down. But definitely SSD is starting to go down to where it's starting to become semi-affordable.
Yeah. What Phil was talking about, you guys know me, I'm not a big frame rates per second guy. I lean more towards the higher resolution side. Yeah, the eye candy, higher resolution, the fidelity.
I'm eye candy.
I like that stuff. I think what Phil's talking about is just the combination and the mixture of just everything combined, having high graphics fidelity, doing 4K and a steady 60 frames per second. All that stuff combined gives you an immersion like no other. Now you bring in the fact that, these games are going to be lifelike. The animations are going to be lifelike. You're going to be having different kinds of gameplay scenarios because of the graphics. Yeah, because of the graphics. Those kinds of experiences on top of the fact that, you can run some of these games at 60 or even 120 frames per second. It's going to be an immersive experience, but every now and then I find it funny. A game comes along with very basic graphics that's high in immersion. I know Minecraft is one of those games to a certain extent. Sea of Thieves is another game that has some really nice art direction that makes you, immersed in, it makes you feel like you're selling the iced teas. It makes you feel like you're you're laughing because I'm talking about Sea of Thieves.
You're talking about Sea of Thieves. And I don't always trust it with Jeremy, but he's right. Because that's what I love about Sea of Thieves. I really feel like a damn pirate. I sound like a big ass kid,
but it had no. The graphics weren't that impressive. They were good for what they were, or what they are. But
you haven't played. I don't understand if you don't.
That black and white television. Those graphics are phenomenal to me.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is,
but go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, it's not. It's the elements in the game, like the waves, crashing against the boat. It's like some of the art direction, or most of the art direction in Sea of Thieves, that makes it immersive.
Don't forget
Minecraft.
That audio is top notch.
Yeah, audio is top notch. Minecraft is the total opposite. You're looking at blocky freaking, it's just the total opposite. But, people could say that first night that you play Minecraft is one of the goddamn most scary experiences you'll ever feel in gaming. On top of that, when you're mining inside a cave or, you're doing something, it's immersive. I think at the end of the day, that's what Phil's talking about, is combining everything from graphic fidelity to the animation to the frames per second.
And let's not forget the load times, because that does kind of take you out of that immersion.
Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head, Megatron, because one of the best games ever made, which so happens to be The Witcher 3. There was hardly any load times in that game. It was the first you started up, but you can go into a cave and it'll be simultaneously, or you go into a house and it's the same thing. There's no loading times when you go into the houses. There's no loading times when you go into the caves. It's one seamless experience.
Mm-hmm.
You're loading into that particular world, but that's about it. So it makes you more immersed into the world, and it makes it more believable. And I think that's what Phil's talking about.
Right.
Again, because you said the best game ever made. And again, I thought you were going to say Sea of Thieves. That's what
This thing at Sea of Thieves already sold close to selling 1 million on Steam.
It's killing it. You got to get that tattoo across your chest, Jeremy. That's it.
No.
Yeah, it's true though about load times and immersion. I've spoken about this before, guys. Mafia 2, even back on the Xbox 360, PS3, it wasn't to the scale of, let's say, a Grand Theft Auto, but man, there was zero load times. You got to just go into buildings, and everything just was seamless that way. There wasn't as many, I would say, like combat opportunities, but what they had was this nice steady flow, and you never felt like you were totally separated from the game with long load times. So that's something that I can really appreciate with that immersive aspect.
I can't wait till they do it in Bethesda games like Skyrim and Fallout. Oh my God! Every minute you ran into a loading screen.
Yeah, give me something. My definition of immersion would be it always has to me include graphics and audio, but then give me less frame rate issues. Give me no pop in, no loading times, and then a great story that kind of pulls me in. Nothing that interrupts that. And then to me, you're on to something. Either way, we have, as gamers, we have to accept what we're given and try to make the best of it and just enjoy it for what's offered this generation. But and also for the record too, if Halo came out and it was 30 frames per second, and it looked like, and I'm a graphics guy too, more than I think I am a frame rate guy, I think it would look. I mean, I would be happy if you could just give me eye candy and just graphics and particle effects and smoke and all of that. So any game that came out, as long as it looks good and the frame rate is stable, it wouldn't bother me if it was 30 frames per second.
Yeah.
So
don't listen to him, Phil. Please.
Well, the new generation, we're old school. Me, Megatron.
I swear,
Tim.
if you go and play Halo, if you can, on 60 frames per second, and just go immediately with 30 frames, you're going to be like, okay, something's wrong. You're going to feel it immediately. Especially in a first-person shooter, you're really going to feel it.
Well, the first time I ever noticed the difference was, again, way back when Tim was talking about he was playing BioShock Infinite. I think you were playing it on the remastered version on Xbox One X, and then I played it first on the 360 version on the X1, and then I played the Infinite version on the X1, the upgrade, 60 frames per second, and that's when I noticed the difference. And then there's a difference. There's a big difference. So, but that was when I was able to tell the difference, But I mean, like I said, to each his own. As long as the game it just runs right and there's no bugs and glitches.
But I think all devs should just give us choice. Just give everybody the option. Because they could have done that with The Last of Us. They could have. That's why I'm not so sure they're going to do 60 frames per second, because they did it only for the remaster of The Last of Us 1. And then they were like, nope, we're going to go back to 30. A lot of people found that jarring. A lot of people went back and played the remaster, a week before the second one came out just to get ready. And then they were like, oh, yeah, it felt kind of weird at first. And then I got used to it. So I don't know. I feel like they're probably just going to stick to 30 and make their game even more super higher, even high realistic. That's kind of the game Naughty Dog kind of likes to make. But
they said they want that cinematic. They're going for that cinematic.
But a lot of people are saying they're running into problems with some of the combat, just with some of the frame rate is just still jarring.
But Nine Lives said Bugnax has no. What is this? What do you say?
Bugsnax
my
has no
God.
loading screens.
That's a strawberry game, right?
Oh my gosh!
I'm really hyped for the that suspend feature. You can do what, like up to six games?
Yeah, that's right. That's
Now
right.
that's only for, I'm guessing, digital purchasers, right?
Probably.
I don't see how you can, because you have to take out the disc unless you had like one disc and like 5 digital games, maybe. Like one
No
disc
shock.
already in
We're
the
getting
train.
those
No.
multiple game disc players now, where you have 6 or 5 lined up.
Well, I'm
what's
saying I
gonna
don't
happen.
think they're giving you. Yeah, so I'm like,
Actually,
that's definitely a huge
Xbox
incentive for
is gonna
digital
sell
purchases.
a standalone 5-disc changer.
Yes, that's
Mhm.
what's happening.
But I'm ready for that.
Bugsnax, Scotty, get the hell out of here.
Bug snacks. But
Bugsnax.
yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see, guys. I agree with Phil. I welcome Immersion. I mean, as much as I want like all the high-end stuff, I want to see the true next gen, obviously. But I know that it's not just graphic fidelity. It's going to be a whole bunch of things like combined, whether it be loading screens and whatnot. So yeah, I want my experience to be good. So again, very excited to see what the future has in store for us, but we will move on to our last bit of news. And we're starting to see more information and documentation actually making the rounds about 2 studios in particular that are looking for new investors and possibly acquisition. 2 Polish studios in particular, Bloober Team and the Farm 51. Over the past few weeks, we have touched on this on the show, and things seem to be getting a little bit amped up. Now, Shock Buddy, I'll go to you first on this. Between the Farm 51 and Bloober Team, are these good potential studios for Xbox Game Studios to acquire?
Yeah, I'm hearing good things. I'm not too familiar with Farm 51. I may have played their games, but I can't recall. But I think probably between the 2, Farm 51 is probably going to be the better get, because I think that one's a little bit smaller, or like the Bloober Team's publicly traded, right?
I believe so. I'll just go through like how big the teams are and what
Okay.
kind of games that they made. So I just got a little list here. So Bloober Team, they're at about 30 people. So a pretty small team. They've made the Layers of Fear games 1 and 2.
Jeremy's favorite.
Yeah. They've done Blair Witch, which was a timed exclusive for Xbox for a few months, and they're currently making The Medium, which seems to be a full-on exclusive for Xbox Series X. Now, moving on to and the Bloober Team seems to specialize in like horror thriller games.
Right.
Moving on to the Farm 51, well, they're actually a pretty decent-sized studio. They got about 100 people, from what I'm to understand, and they've made games like Painkiller, Deadfall Adventures, which I played it on backwards compatible. I think they gave away with like Games with Gold a few years back, and it's actually a pretty fun game. They've also done Get Even, which is another first-person shooter, World War III, which is a multiplayer shooter, and most recently Chernobylite, which is kind of like a thriller kind of horror game. So very kind of differing studios. Definitely the team sizes between 30 people and 100 people. That's a big difference there. But I guess it just depends on what your preferences are studio-wise. Like me in particular, I mean, I could go either way with any of these studios, but Bloober Team does kind of stand out if Xbox is looking for certain genres to address in their library.
My dream, Invader, this is my dream, man. In the back of my head, I keep thinking about it. The Polish acquisition rumors keep popping up in the back of my head. I'm thinking they moved Cyberpunk 2077 because Microsoft purchased CD Projekt Red to launch with the Xbox Series X.
That would be
The internet would break. Yeah,
that would be
Twitter
a
would go
true
crazy.
mic drop.
Yeah, but yeah.
More than Sega, right? Though.
You know what?
Please.
Yeah, I want CD Projekt Red more, but I think the acquisition of Sega would be more beneficial I don't know about beneficial. I think it'd make more headwind in Japan.
You're fighting with your nostalgia, maybe the struggle there.
Just the Sega just has so many IPs that these studios can just make some just
Why don't
great.
they make them though? That's what I don't understand.
It's the same thing with Konami. Konami fucking pisses me off.
So then why don't
What
they
a
just
waste.
sell them?
Because they make too much money on like what are they called, pachinko machines or whatever?
Yeah,
Arcade. Like
Konami's a waste. It's just another company that's just holding on to gold, and they just don't do anything with it. It's just a waste. Konami's a fucking. So is Sega. Sega's
same
a
reason
waste.
why Steam doesn't make any games until like just recently. They don't make anything because they make too much money. Same thing with Epic. They just make Fortnite now in Unreal engines. That's it.
So I'm gonna say that the blooper is gonna be a part of Xbox Game Studios. I think that Xbox is probably putting a bid. Things that make me think that are the exclusivity that Medium has. Like you guys say, it seems like it's a full-on exclusive. And that shows that they have a working relationship. Secondly, it's offshore money. When Microsoft bought Minecraft for $2.2 billion, everyone or whatever it was up in arms. But one of the reasons why they could put such a strong bid in is because the taxing of the money is basically tax-free because it's offshore money. So in this case, you'd have the same thing with Blooper, so they can probably put out a bid that's more than anybody's putting out there. And one of the things that I think that makes sense with this is they could get the studio for Game Pass, and they could build upon it, and they could really have a horror genre or that type of storytelling game, or the games like that they've already put out. I think it's just makes too much sense. And even though it's not a huge AAA signing, and I don't think that they'll ever become AAA, I think that their quality of work will definitely improve. But it just makes sense, and I'm going to go on record and saying I think that that's going to be a part of the game studio. I would love CD Projekt Red, but I don't think that even though I heard that they put out there that they could be for sale, I just don't see it happening. They're just too big.
Tim, I don't like the fact that I disagree with the fact that Microsoft is going out and Xbox is buying these smaller studios. I think if they spend the money on I'm beating a dead horse with a stick. They go out and buy Sega. You can get all those games. You can go out and get all those games and then throw them on Game Pass. And it's all the Sega library.
Sega makes a lot of sense. It's just
right.
Who knows? I mean, the thing about the smaller studios though is that you look at a studio like InXile. They're building now a full-on AAA studio. They're building a full-on AAA game, Unreal Engine 5, and that's because of the people that they've hired. All these studios have grown. Some have grown and double in size. So you can buy these studios and build them from within.
Oh, and then in Poland. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No,
no, because it's in Poland. I mean, right now Poland's on fire with game developers now.
Right, it makes too much sense, and I could even see them buying Farm 51 and Bloober.
Farm 51 is actually a good studio.
They are. They're not bad. You're right.
Well, they're a decent sized studio with, I've seen listings for about 100 people. So it would be a decent studio to get. You could always build around it. But even the Bloober team, though, with 30 people, depending on what the price is, that's a pretty small team to take on. And they can definitely at least double the studio pretty quickly as well. So there's room to grow. That's what Microsoft's been doing with a lot of these studios. Look at Compulsion. Double Fine isn't exactly a huge studio in Exile. So,
but all I'm saying is when you buy somebody like a Sega, you automatically get those games that Sega's made for a generation. And that can be a Game Pass asset. It's just Also, it could be an xCloud asset, just streaming those games in, and they can offer 100 games right off the bat on just Sega titles.
Yeah, they should definitely do some more second party deals because
Yeah.
I'm all for that. Like if something's not ever being created and you come in and say, hey, kind of like with the Bayonetta situation, hey, make a new Shinobi. Like that would be a big get. You're not getting, well, hopefully we get like games like back from Team Ninja again. But that could be a huge thing you could do where you can get some second party deals.
Yeah.
Instead of like money hatting, I'm not definitely for that. Hopefully that's just going to continue probably with Sony because that's what they do. But it's like Sony didn't do anything for you. They just told other people they can't have it. Like they didn't get you. Final Fantasy VII Remake was coming. They were going to make that game anyway because they knew it was going to be a cash cow.
Mr. Chemo is asking about Techland here. How about Techland? Well, they've gone on record. Yeah, they're kind of in trouble right now with Dying Light 2 and some studio stuff going on. It's kind of unclear.
Techland has some talent. They've definitely made, for what they have, they've definitely made a couple of good games, but that's about it. I think Microsoft and Xbox needs to think bigger. So,
well, I mean, listen, it's easy to say to think bigger, but I think that as you see with Ready at Dawn, that would have been a perfect signing. It's not always that easy, and they like I said, they've grown their studios. Look at Ninja Theory; they were about, I'd say 70. They're approaching double 150. Rare is about 250 developers. When we had on TXR when we had Craig Duncan on, I had asked him how many developers did he have when Sea of Thieves was in development, and he said we were working with 100 people. You're talking about a studio that now has almost tripled, over 1,000 developers, and this is what I've heard, because I asked about it. Over 1,000 developers have been added to the Xbox Game Studio footprint. And that's in addition to the studios that were acquired. So let's say after 2018 that all the studios have been acquired. They've added 1,000 studios on top of that, whether it was 343 growing, Coalition was once 200 developers. It's now up to 350. You added. You're talking 1,000 developers added to their development to do their studios, to do 15 studios. That is huge, and I think that people are really. This is going to really start to hit home when they start to announce these games. And July, if they do not show this in July, then they deserve the criticism. But I think if you're looking at it, Fable and Perfect Dark, those are two AAAs, and they make a lot of sense. Perfect Dark was a 96 Metacritic for Nintendo 64. The Perfect Dark Zero was an 81 Metacritic, but you're dealing with a strong IP there, strong character. I think Initiative makes a whole bunch of sense. You have Coalition do the multiplayer on it, like rumored. You got two AAAs there. You got Hellblade 2 that we should see gameplay of. We're going to see gameplay this July, I've heard.
Oh, I can't wait.
We're really in for a good roll on Xbox, and we deserve it.
Tim, let me ask you a question. If Xbox comes out in July, whenever this event's going to be, and they roll another dud out, like they've had in the past, what does that do to the brand?
I think it does nothing, because it really comes down to. I don't think that if they announce Fable and Perfect Dark and Forza, I think it's pretty hard to say that they're having a bad show. You're already adding two AAAs, actually 3 AAA games, and then you're going to have Halo Infinite. which I'm sure is going to be really
First
impressive.
gameplay we have seen.
Yeah, listen, I think that I'm hearing really good things. So I think that it really that I don't think if they did have a dud, then I think that's more on them because they don't know how to message it because these developers they're not making they're not just sitting around doing nothing. They're making games. Obsidian should have a AAA game. I believe that they're going to be there too. They're going to show off their game. Now you say, let's say they don't announce Perfect Dark. I think it's a good bet that we know it's coming. Mm-hmm. We saw the email thing and the whole thing with that. I think that if you look at that and you consider everything you've heard, Fable and Perfect Dark are coming.
Yeah, that's been kind of the talk on Twitter with the accounts there.
Well, what do you guys think of Aaron Greenberg there, head of Xbox marketing, kind of trying to settle down the flames and excitement of everybody?
He's doing what he's supposed to do, but that's not going to change
exactly.
anyone's opinions of what they think are going to happen. When you got these two accounts and they're being followed by, Microsoft.
Yeah, Ken Lob's following the creator. One of the creators of Perfect Dark is following it. Now that one isn't a Microsoft account because there's not, or at least when you count the characters, it doesn't match up to the same as like the one that Fable is. Mm-hmm. But it's so weird that Aaron still says that confirmed that both of these were Microsoft accounts, even though the Perfect Dark account is now tweeting and saying it's not. But how would Ken Lobb know just in June this Twitter handle got created? Hey, I'm just going to randomly search for Perfect Dark game handle and follow a dead account. Like, why that wouldn't make any sense. Plus, it's probably going to have a name with it, like Perfect Dark something. So they wouldn't even need that handle.
Perfect Joanna Dark or whatever.
Perfect Dark Infinite.
I guess I think that if you look through it, like Megatron said, Aaron's trying to do his job. And listen, I think that we're all putting two and two together. I think there's a lot of things that we've heard in the backgrounds about Perfect Dark. You look at who's running the studio, David Gallagher. He usually makes a game with a female lead with Tomb Raider, as we know. And you just look and everything's pointing to these things. Now, Fable, listen, if you don't think Fable is not being made, you're just not paying attention. It's the worst kept secret going. You're going to hear about it, I believe, this E3. And from what I've heard, we're going to get the Fable that we want, meaning it's not going to be cartoony. It's going to be realistic, and it's going to be in the Witcher theme type style.
I like my picture repost, by the way, the Fable post you posted. Thanks.
I just saw the one with the teeth earlier, so I don't know if that's the one you were.
I mean, listen, it's exciting time. It's exciting time.
Actually,
if Xbox doesn't hit on the show, I mean, that's on them. I mean, at this point, I don't think that you can actively say that they're going to definitely have a hit show because they've had times where they've disappointed. 2019 was a time where they disappointed at the E3. I even though I at the time I thought it was better and then I lowered the score, but looking back, that was definitely a disappointment. With this, they have a lot of time. They have a lot of studios. I mean, how hard can it be? Just get it out there. I mean, I think they should go for broke and just do teaser too. Like, even if a game isn't ready or if it's 3 years away, do what Sony did in 2016.
Let it fly, baby.
Let it fly, man.
Like
that's
Nintendo did with Metroid. Yeah.
Because if you have that, if you have the games thing where you can shove it in people's faces, like 5 AAAs and mature exclusive, and you have like screens from Hellblade where somebody's getting their head chopped off. You're going to be able to that narrative is going away, and everywhere else, Xbox is pretty much kicking Sony's ass.
Really,
hardware kicking their ass, Game Pass kicking their ass, online always better online. Controller, it's always been the same thing. That's whatever it is. I mean, it's just they're just in such a strong position. There's really no way you can say Xbox sucks.
I'm with you. Hey, Tim. So Is this July? For Jeremy. For this July show, though, are we only going to have Microsoft Studios? Because I think personally, it is important. If this is going to be the show of all shows, I think I want to see CD Projekt Red out there again. Because, like you said,
I would love that.
Because I mean, this is going to be. You want to highlight the AAA multiplats to show that this is going to be the best place to play it. It's gonna, all of it. Show
Valhalla, not some bullshit that they pulled out. With that stupid guy who left because he was cheating on his wife, banging other women, whatever. That guy jetted. He knew he was guilty.
Did we meet him? No, I swear.
Yeah, we met. I didn't like him. I met him in
New York.
I met him in New York. I did not like him.
Yeah,
he was pompous. He just had an arrogance. Like I could say. I've met Ted Price and I've met the guys from Insomniac, and I can genuinely say those like super awesome, super cool.
Yeah,
but
Ted
the
Price,
Ubisoft dudes, when I met them, I went into this back area and they acted like they were just they acted like who they were, and it makes sense because a guy like that would probably use his status of where he is. And use it, for whatever to impress a girl or whatever the case is, whatever he's doing.
Yeah. They acted like
I said I didn't like them.
They acted like Canadians, right, Invader?
I wouldn't know because I wasn't there. It sounds like a very un-Canadian thing to do, unfortunately.
I met Ted Price both times in the food court. I found that the food court is like in E3 is the best place. The Expo Center to meet people, and both times he remembered me. Well, the first time and the second time he remembered me, and we had the best conversations. And I think I was eating a corn dog, and he was drinking the root beer, waiting for his tacos. And it was just like the best. That is one great classy dude. So Ted Price, man.
Yeah, honestly, the Insomniac people, super cool. Like I talked to Ted, and I talked to him at length about Sunset Overdrive, and and it just that was a great signing by Sony. But they're just super really super great people, and I'm so happy that because Sunset Overdrive was a great game. For whatever reason, it just didn't take off. But for them to have Spider-Man and just basically be the top selling up until now, the top selling game on PlayStation 4 was some awesome thing. You know what I mean? So I'm happy. I couldn't believe that they sold for I believe they sold for 330 million or something like that. I thought that was a little low. I would value them a lot higher than that.
Yeah, well, you can definitely see how much their passion goes through in their games, like whether it be Ratchet and Clank, Resistance, Sunset Overdrive, Spider-Man. Like, there's a lot of skill there. There's a lot of talent, and there's a lot of personality too. And I really appreciate that when developers really put that in their games. So definitely a very solid pickup for Sony, to say the least. But yeah, guys, on that point, the show will now be coming to an end. Again, fellas, outstanding stuff from everybody on the panel tonight. Lots of solid points regarding our talks on Mixer, Facebook Gaming, Halo Infinite, and the Banished, and of course, so much more going on in the industry. As well, I have to point out all the wonderful people that joined us tonight in the chat. Folks like Samars, 9 Lives. Yeah, 9 Lives. Fastback, hey buddy, from NLG. Other Zinc, Victor, Warning Shots, hey buddy. Congratulations on winning Sonic Mania. Again, Megatron, thank you for providing that. What else do we got here? Pang 911. Dreadpool, hey buddy, nice to see you again. And again, we got Fozzie here, HTK, Mr. Kima, and lots of great people joining us tonight. It was a very lively crowd. Of course, guys, do not forget to subscribe to the channel to keep up to date on future shows. As well, smash that like button and share this episode out to get the word out about more TXR. We'll move on to the outro. Yeah, buddy. Got that right. Let's move on to some of the outros. And hey, Tim, fantastic show tonight, brother. Where can everybody follow you at?
They can follow me on Twitter, xCloudTimDog. They can also follow me. I do a podcast, RDX, which is Tuesday night, 8 p.m., with Dealer and the crew. So you can also hear me there. And you also can find me on Xbox Live. My Xbox gamer tag is xCloudTimDog, as you see it on the screen right now. So send me a friend request. And I do play with people and stuff like that. Just obviously be cool, and send a request, and also just put in the comment where you heard you know me or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Definitely follow that guy. And RDX is a fantastic show. We got to get Dealer and some of the other guys on here at some point.
Come on. We got to get Shady, too. I know that we said
Shady wants to come on.
Well, I tried getting him on last week, but he was a little busy. But we will get him on. We will get him on. I promise that.
We got to get the Dealer guys. But thanks, guys. And Jeremy smells.
hey, we can get him on next week when Megatron and Tim miss again.
Oh my gosh, he holds back no punchies. Punches, my good friend Jeremy there.
Well, he is known as Downer for a reason, right?
Yeah, I hear you.
All right, let's get to some more outros. Shock Buddy, great insights tonight. Where can everybody follow you?
Yeah, you can find me at ShockNero on Twitter, Easy Shock on Xbox Live. But yeah, thanks for a pretty great show tonight. Thanks for stopping by.
Of course. Megatron, good stuff as usual. Where can everybody follow you at?
As always, man, this was a fun show. You hit me up on Twitter, Megatron_1975. And I would say Mixer, but Mixer is no more, so I'm going to set that up. My new stream is probably going to need to be on Twitch, and then to see what Facebook is going to have to offer eventually when that's done. Yeah, it was fun. And also, One Away Dragons TV wants to come on the show. That's going to be a fun show, too. We got to get him on, too, as well. One of the members from GRG. And congratulations to you on hitting your 1,000 subs there. We're trying to get that too. But yeah, man, this was a great show, and I love doing this with you guys. And thanks for everybody stopping by and talking it up in the chat. So yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, we will work on that. We will try. Obviously there's, different schedules that always conflict, but we will definitely try to get the GRG crew on at some point. Centurion Buddy, loved your commentary tonight. Where can everybody follow you and find your content?
You can find me on Twitter, YouTube, and Xbox Live at Centurion1307. I also do the Shop Podcast every Saturday night at 6 p.m. Arizona time. And I'm also here right with you guys on the TXR Podcast every Sunday night.
Hey, you need to speak up more too, man. I mean, people don't want to hear me. They'll rather hear you. So please.
Oh my God.
Tell us how you really feel, Jeremy.
I just said I threw some shade my way.
Oh my gosh.
A little shady. All right. Speaking of which, Jeremiah, solid show tonight, bud.
I'm going to go a different route. You can find me on Parler. Ramirez Jeremy 07, and that's what it is.
Parler.
What the hell is that?
It's
I feel like I'm not gonna get like harassed.
Massage parlor.
I wanted to be like this sounds like someplace you're gonna get touched. Like what the hell?
Well, no, technically it's actually called parlay.
Parlay,
because it's for talking, it's for speaking. It's like Twitter, basically. So yeah. There's been a lot of news. Actually, I have an account on there too, Jeremy. So, shoot me a follow. There's also quite a few other people I know that are in the chat. They're on Parlay as well.
But all right, my friend.
But yeah. Oh, and on that note, of course, I'm Invader, and of course, you can follow me on my YouTube channel, Invader Gaming, and I'm also pretty active on Twitter at Invader_1986 and Parlay at Invader. So pretty simple there. Guys, we look forward to seeing everyone here next week. Take it easy, fellas, and have a very good night.
Later.